Alright, so we're now going to jump into the Mongo shell and we're going to start our project. So we're going to build a customer database. It's going to be pretty simple. This is kind of an introduction project. So we need to run MongoDB as a service. Okay, so what we need to do is say sudo service MongoDB and start. Okay, so that's going to start the service up if it wasn't already started. And then we should be able to just use Mongo, and that brings us into a shell. Alright, so let's look at some commands. So we have the command show DBs. That's going to show us the databases. By default, we have this admin in this local database. Now, to create a new database, what we want to do is just say use and then the database name. Alright, so let's call this, we'll just call it Acme. Alright, so you can see that we've now switched to the database called Acme. Now, we have no collections. If we say show collections, you can see we don't have any. So let's create a collection called customers. So we'll say db dot create collection, and we want to pass in here customers. Alright, you can see we get an OK1. So now if I say show collections, you can see we have a customers collection. Now we want to insert a customer into this collection. So let's say db dot and then the collection name, which is customers. And then we're going to do dot insert. And then in here, we need to insert a document, which is basically just a JSON object. So let's give it a first name of John and a last name of Doe. Okay, so if we run that, we get this right result, n inserted 1. Okay, so that means that one record was inserted. So now if we do db dot customers dot find, you'll see that gives us our customer, first name, last name. Notice that there's also this underscore ID, which is actually an object ID, which is a certain data type that MongoDB uses. And this is used as a unique identifier so that we can access, access unique rows of data. Now, there's also a function called pretty that we can add on to the find. So if we say dot pretty, you'll see that it formats it nice and neat. It puts each key value pair on its own line, so it's a little easier to read. Alright, so let's insert some more customers here. So we'll say db dot customers dot insert. And this time I'm going to insert multiple customers. So we're going to use an array. So we'll put in some brackets here. And then we'll say first name. Let's say Sam. Last name Smith. Okay, and then we'll put a comma after that curly brace and create another curly brace. And let's say first name, I'll say Michelle. Last name Johnson, and then we'll do one more. First name Mike, last name Williams. Alright, so let's go ahead and run that. And you'll see right here, n inserted 3. And now we're going to do a find dot pretty, and you'll see we have 4 customers. Now, all of these customers happen to have the same fields. They have an ID, a first name, and a last name, but that doesn't mean that we're stuck with just those fields as we would with a relational database. So let's go ahead and create another customer. So we'll say db dot customers dot insert. Okay, and let's say first name Wendy and last name Samson. And let's say we want to add we'll say occupation nurse. Okay, so that you can see that went in no problem. And now if we do a find, you'll see we still have all of our other customers, but we also have Wendy, which has an occupation of nurse. Okay, and that's absolutely no problem. It's fine that Mike doesn't have an occupation and Wendy does. So that makes not just MongoDB, but NoSQL in general, makes it very flexible. All right, so we don't have to predefine everything. We don't have to predefine what type of data goes in these. So that's a huge advantage over relational database models. All right, so let's go ahead and insert another one. I'm just going to click up here and just change some things. So let's change the name here to, let's say, Bob. And let's say Bob Jackson. Occupation, we'll say, we'll just say technician. And let's give him an age. Now, for an age, we want this to be a number. Let's say 36. And notice that I didn't put quotes in because I want to treat it as a number. And let's see what else we could do. Let's say birthday. So for birthday, I want to put in a date. So we can actually use new date. We can use the date function. And let's say September 12th. And let's say 19. Oh, geez, I don't know. For 36, that would be, what, 1980, I believe. All right, so let's go ahead and try that. And then we'll do our find.pretty. And notice that age, 36, it doesn't have quotes around it. And then birthday is what's called an ISO date. Okay, so that's a certain format that we can have for our fields. So it's basically a date and time. All right. We also, if we want to just find one of these, we could do db.customers.find1. All right, and we can find by a specific field. So let's say first name. Let's say we want to find first name Wendy. Okay, and you can see that gives us Wendy back. Now, usually, if you're going to use this in an application and you're using find one, you're probably going to want to search by the object ID, not by the first name, because if you have another Wendy, that's going to come back, or actually just the first one that it finds is going to come back, which you don't want. Okay, so you probably want to search by the object ID. All right, so we have created a database, we created a collection, and we added a bunch of users. We queried those users, or I should say customers. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how we can edit and update and also remove customers.